Chapter 927, New Normal. 1. There's more to do after a raid ends than you'd think. Tending to the injured, counting the dead, investigating how many supplies were used, and then once things have settled down a bit, it's an unwritten rule to grab the mic and say a few words thanking everyone for their hard work. But all of that stuff is boring. Left the boring tasks that could be handled just fine without me to the main forces personnel. After all, barbarians lack patience for this sort of thing. If you take a closer look, it seems it's not just barbarians that are like that, but wizards as well. To think we're butchering a rank 1 monster. If the people in the city found out, they'd faint from shock. They'd call us madmen. Gwalin, who had approached me at some point, had a wide smile on his face as he said that. Butchering is explorer industry slang for the act of applying distortion magic and harvesting byproducts from monsters. It goes without saying, but it's rarely done unless the value of the byproducts is overwhelmingly higher than the essence, or you've received a commission. Even though the probability increases little by little as the rank of the monster goes up, the butchering probability is fundamentally much lower than the essence drop rate. According to the records, the last time a Leviathan was successfully hunted was a whopping 300 years ago. Once we get outside, we can probably get any price we ask for. I don't know, I doubt there are as many people who need top-grade materials like these as you'd think. That's true. A lot of high-ranking explorers died recently. That's a bit of a shame. We may have to sell over time. Let's save that kind of talk for when we get back. For now, how about we get the butchering started? As it happens, my top disciple is putting together a team right now, so the work will begin immediately once the personnel are organized. That's a relief. In that case, I'll leave this place to you guys. Hoo-hoo, you intend to check that place first. Gwalin cut me off with a sly grin. Well, he did know that this was what I wanted most from this raid. Let's go together. I've been terribly curious myself. Alright, since it was loot already decided to be mine anyway, I headed with Gwalin to the spot where the heart had been without complaint. It wasn't a far distance, but even during that short time, Gwalin's mouth never stopped moving. The Leviathan is a truly peculiar entity, even among all the extraordinary things that run rampant in the labyrinth. For starters, what you can obtain from butchering it isn't things like scales, hide, whiskers, fangs, bones, or sinew. It certainly is a peculiar entity. Leaving this place doesn't mean there's a Leviathan corpse waiting outside. The byproducts you can obtain through butchering are only obtainable inside this space. If the distortion magic had failed, we would have already been sent back to the original outside space. The words of the great navigator, Pikma, the first to butcher a Leviathan, are famous, you know. He said the Leviathan was a gigantic gold mine swimming through the sea. He says it's famous, but honestly, this was my first time hearing it. Well, I do agree with the gold mine comparison though. As you hack away at the flesh with a pickaxe, all sorts of things come out. From top-grade materials like dragonbone, arc, and mystium, to numbered items. Even just the flesh itself is quite valuable. It can be refined into elixirs through alchemy. Of course, the real prize is the sea polar stone. I do wonder how many are buried inside this beast's belly. I'm very much looking forward to it. The sea polar stone is a unique byproduct of the Leviathan, found at a very low probability while pickaxing through the flesh walls, and it's commonly used across all types of spirit imprints at stage 10. Somehow, I've already gotten my hands on one of the stage 10 materials. Well, to actually use it, the shaman would need to regain consciousness first and perform the stage 9 imprint, but still. Would you like to go down first? Sure. Soon, we arrived at the spot where the heart had been and descended through the hole that had been beneath it. So this is indeed the place Pikma spoke of. The space below the hole, just over a dozen square meters in size, wasn't dark at all even without light magic. Geometric patterns etched on the flesh walls, which felt smoother than the walls outside, were emitting a soft blue glow. You have witnessed a portion of a myth. Achievement unlocked. Condition, mythical discovery, 3/5. Reward, your soul power has permanently increased by +30. Okay, so this works as it should too. Maybe because it's already the 3rd time, but the expansion of my MP pool felt much more distinct than before. This is the first time I've received a baptism since passing through the Great Demon Realm. Before we leave later, we should have all the members stop by this place. Baptism is the term people of this world use for stat increases gained through achievements. In the case of wizards, their magic power increases. However, perhaps because he knew that achievements like this were merely a bonus, Gwalin quickly turned his attention elsewhere. So this is the famous orb of water. Half buried in the floor at the center of the space was a blue orb emanating light. The sea polar stone was one thing, but this was the true alpha and omega of the sea god raid. In the end, I'm getting my hands on even this. After a brief feeling of peculiar emotion, I slowly reached out and pulled out the orb. You have been registered as the user of the orb of water. One of the most important preparation items for exploring the 10th floor was now in place. Day 57 since entering the labyrinth. Having finished butchering the Leviathan, we finally left that unpleasant place and came outside. For reference, the method of getting out is very simple. The Leviathan mine only lasts for exactly 5 days. Pew-hew. The moment time was up, we were ejected into the deep sea and rose to the surface with the help of the wizards. Pew-hew-hew-ha. Hew-ho-ha-ho-ha. Ho-ha-ho-ha-ho-ha. All the members, soaked and floating on the sea like cereal, were grinning ear to ear, because they knew it themselves, that once they returned to the city, they'd all be rich. To think 12 sea polar stones would come out. There was a 5-day time limit, but it wasn't as if we'd run short on farming time or anything like that. The hundreds of able-bodied men and women who'd invaded the Leviathan mine were all explorers born with a talent for destruction and violence. Q-ho-ha-ho-ha. It's a numbered item. Ark. This is Ark, right? They dug through the flesh walls, not even sparing time for meals, and by the last day, they had nowhere left to farm, so they ended up just resting. Well, even then, there were some who kept working, saying there might be spots they hadn't dug yet. Anyway, first, we summoned a ship and headed for Faerun Island, but the Siren Queen already knew the Leviathan had croaked. Something about seeing an ascension gate open 5 days ago and watching it disappeared through there? It was a phenomenon I was hearing about for the first time, but I didn't particularly question it. After all, I'd never been on the outside watching while the Leviathan was being hunted. Doesn't seem like there's any follow-up event. I had wondered if maybe some separate interaction would become available with the Siren Queen after killing the Leviathan, but there was nothing like that. The Siren Queen simply stared at us as if she were looking at monsters, completely terrified, showing no signs of any upcoming event. So, this island again. With nothing in particular to do, we left Faerun Island and paid one more visit to Lemia Island. The abyssal fog still hadn't dissipated, and we entered into it to check the Imperial Gate one more time. It's still in the same state. The Imperial Gate had lost its light and stiffly hardened, so reaching out your hand only resulted in a knock. It wasn't functioning properly. In the end, we left the fog, set up camp nearby, and immediately held a meeting. There was only one topic. Do you have any idea why the way out still hasn't opened? Despite killing the sea god, the portal isn't opening. Could it be that killing the sea god wasn't the key to reaching the true ending? I've talked with Tetra several times since then, but I don't know why it won't open either. It might be that we really do need to find an uninhabited island and take her there. An uninhabited island. We don't have much time left. Will that even be possible? What about Lemia Island here? It's the same in that there's no one around, isn't it? How about we just wait here until the labyrinth closes? We'll probably get to keep the items we obtained here anyway. That's far too dangerous a gamble. It's not certain we'd get back the items we lost in that case. Do you not know how much we've invested this time? I agree. It's not even certain that escaping that way would let us enter the Twin Sea that Viscount Yondell spoke of. Numerous opinions were offered but no definitive conclusion was reached, and around the time when unease began to slowly settle over people's faces, one wizard cautiously spoke up. The very wizard who had been researching the mysterious elixir obtained from the laboratory alongside the GM, the one said to be deeply versed in alchemy. According to Viscount Yondell, the condition for conquering this area is to fulfill Tetra's wish, is it not? And perhaps it may be possible to fulfill it, not a lie about going to live quietly on an uninhabited island, but his true wish, the one burning fervently deep in his heart. Are you saying you've figured out what his true wish is? There's nothing to figure out. If I were turned into a monster like that, I'd want to return to human form no matter what. That may be so, but are you saying there's a way? Yes, if my theory is correct. At first I thought, what is this about now? But after hearing the details, it was quite plausible. You're saying if we feed that elixir to Teshi, he might turn back into a human. There was even some basis for it. Doesn't the fact that it was found in the laboratory in the first place mean it was intended to be administered to him? That's true, but my alchemy knowledge alone wasn't making any progress in the research, so I started reading through the artifacts obtained from the research base, especially the books, and I found this. Would you like to take a look? You can read the ancient language. Alchemy itself is a discipline that originated in ancient times. Conversation is difficult, but if it's reading, I can manage to some extent. I see. I quickly read through the book he presented as evidence. It didn't take long, as the relevant parts had been underlined. The book did in fact contain information about the elixir obtained there. First of all, this elixir was indeed meant to turn monsters back into humans. However, the problem was, Tetra's case is slightly different. Yes, this book only records it being administered to mutated Imperial soldiers. The author of this research journal says that was planned was to administer it to Tetra in the event of mutation. What do you plan to do if we feed this to Tetra and he dies? That's why I haven't said anything until now, because if that happened, I would also bear responsibility. I was planning to just keep quiet if the portal opened after we killed the Leviathan, the decision is yours, Lord Viscount. I shook my head at the wizard's words. The decision isn't mine to make. Let's call it here for today. After ending the meeting, I immediately made my way over to Teshi, and after relaying everything that had been discussed at the meeting without falsehood, I said to him, The decision is yours. Tashi had lived his entire life having no connection to the word choice, but surprisingly, he made his choice all too easily. I'll eat it. Seeing his eyes full of resolve, I couldn't help but smirk. Wrong. Don't worry. Even if I die, I won't hold any resentment. That's not what I mean. You don't eat medicine like this. You inject it. After the decision was made, I called the wizards over and had them administer the drug into Tashi's vein. And at that moment, crackle. For one last time, the world stopped. Chapter 928, New Normal. 2. Muscles swollen and mottled with hues of red. A mouth gaping wide as if vomiting out anguish. And drool dripping from that mouth. Right, so it was a success. This was already my 4th time experiencing this phenomenon, so there was nothing to be surprised about anymore. Alone in a world that had frozen still, I curled up the corners of my mouth while staring at Tashi. The portal I'd been expecting didn't open right away, but I wouldn't need to worry about this part. Flash. The surroundings flashed blinding white, and the memories belonging to someone other than myself unfolded before my eyes. This, too, was something I'd experienced once before, when I brought Tashi off the island and heard his wish, that he just wanted to live alone with his little sister on an uninhabited island. Back then, too, I had been able to glimpse fragments of his life through this same method. The last scene I saw was him seeing his little sister's corpse and transforming into the Lord of Tears. I could feel it instinctively. The scene unfolding before me now was the next page of a story I thought had already ended. Sizzle. The sound of melting came from all directions. However, there were no screams mixed in. All that remained nearby was the flesh of Imperial soldiers, already melted into pools of blood. Eek. At the center of that horrific carnage, the Lord of Tears roared toward the sky as if vomiting out hatred. But the sky was just the sky. No matter how much emotion he vomited out, it would only scatter meaninglessly as echoes. A response never came back, as if the sky bore no responsibility for what had occurred on the earth below. Foom. The Lord of Tears stopped his roar. He no longer looked up at the sky. The gigantic monster, who could no longer even be called a beast, muttered, as if resisting oblivion, only one person's name, over and over, endlessly. L-A-E, me, A, Lemia, 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 my little sister. A promise I made to protect her no matter what, but one I could never keep in the end. Thud. Something fell in front of him. A charred black corpse, soaking wet. He knew why the corpse was wet. He couldn't not know. The merciless Imperial researchers, as if to deny even the peace of death, had preserved the corpse in a solution and periodically showed it to him. L-A-E, me, A, that's right, it's that little bitch of a sister you were looking for, you monster bastard. The one who threw the corpse in front of him was a soldier. He didn't know his name, but he knew his face. Every time the researchers showed him the corpse, that soldier was always nearby doing menial tasks. Why aren't you blubbering today? This is the sister you loved so much, right? Guess becoming a monster bastard made you lose even the feeling of being glad to see her. Log A, me, A, fuck, stop muttering that stupid ass name and say something. The soldier was enraged. So enraged that he couldn't even feel fear standing before the gigantic monster that had massacred the Imperial army. Because of you, all these people died. My brother died. Is that rage justified? He didn't even harbor such a question in the first place. Justice does not exist in this world, and that is no longer even a topic worth discussing. But, how about it? Are you satisfied now? This might be a little noisy. Sizzle. The moment that thought bloomed, the soldier's body melted away. Lemi, A. In the silence that returned once more, he took a step. Foom. His gigantic body, moving with painstaking care, finally came to a stop before the charred corpse. It felt as though he was gripping a thread with a weight tied to it that was dangling over the edge of a cliff. If he faltered even slightly, his last remaining thread of reason would snap, and only instinct would remain as it sank into the endless darkness. Lemia. The more he felt that way, the more he thought of only one thing, perhaps the last duty remaining to him. However, even that duty, he could not fulfill. Sizzle. Before his body could even reach it, the charred black corpse melted away. His heart, whose location he no longer even knew, throbbed with pain. Eek. The monster let out another shriek of anguish once again, and, flash, the scene changed, as if I had blinked. It was night, not day. The location was the same, and his actions were also the same. Eek. The monster continued to let out screams, and inside his head, a voice echoed. So you are that child, the sea god, Leviathan, a being who guards the Earth Mother's side in the highest place, called the lowest place. Cease this, the entire sea is melting from your sorrow and suffering. Our mother, too, is worried about this. You must stop now. They were words he could not understand. He had merely been guarding his sister's grave. I see. So it was a grave. When I was suffering, where were you? Why come now? I sincerely apologize. The earth we stand upon is vaster than the sky, so I was unable to save you in time. Lies. Do you know of the land of dawn? I knew. Lemia had believed in the Earth Mother with all her heart, and had hoped to someday go there. Then let her go. Would it not be good to let your sister finally rest now? I can't. Even so, I at least must protect this place. I promise. I shall ensure that no one ever trespasses upon this island, comma. Furthermore, I shall ensure that all the clans of the sea remember the sins committed against you and your sister, just as the sky had done. Tetra did not answer. I am truly sorry. Hearing those deeply unfamiliar words of apology, he slowly raised his body and headed into the sea, comma. That promise must be kept, without fail. I took a deep breath as if waking from a nightmare, comma. This experience was clearly different from the ones before. It felt as if, for that moment, I had become a being other than myself. The primal, intense emotions felt so vivid that I couldn't collect myself. Are you satisfied now? Gradually, the boundary between reality and illusion was drawn, and around the time I began to find myself, a voice came from afar. It was obvious who those words belonged to. Tetra, the ill-fated floor lord who had known nothing but suffering in life. I smirked and answered. That's the question I should be asking. I suppose that's true. So how was it? Last time you were going on about how you'd already seen everything you wanted to see. I was rather looking forward to this. What would his verdict on the true ending be? I had nothing but endless anticipation. I wasn't worried at all. And why wouldn't that be the case? If he's not satisfied even with this, he's not human. As I waited for an answer with my lips curled into a grin, he turned the question back on me instead. How do you think it was? It seems he's rather shy. Or maybe he just lacks social skills. Well, that's something I could understand. It's not like I don't have a rough idea of what kind of life he lived. Seeing that look in your eyes, I'm suddenly finding myself becoming very dissatisfied. Have some manners, comma. Tetra tilted his head as if he didn't understand, and instead of explaining, I casually picked up where the topic was interrupted. Anyway, well, is there really a need to answer? I can already tell just by looking at your face. My face. Yeah, your face. You look way more relieved compared to before. Once again, not understanding, he was touching his own face, but strictly speaking, I didn't mean just his face. It was the entire atmosphere that naturally flowed from his tone, his gestures, etc. Last time, he didn't give off this kind of friendly feeling. It seemed like watching over me had raised his inner sense of intimacy with me, or something. Hoo. Why are you suddenly laughing? Well, why else would a gamer laugh? I was just so curious about what the reward for the true ending that no one has ever seen would be. Bjorn, son of Yondel. You really are just as I've heard. At those words, starting from my shoulders, I stiffened without realizing it. You heard about me? From who? Could it be that the originals in the labyrinth have some channel to communicate with each other? Like how there was a community for evil spirits in Raphonia? If so, who did you hear it from? Dreadfear? The Earth Witch? Or Cambarmir? There's also the possibility it was Ormy Nork, who I met in the cabin during the dimensional collapse. Stop. That is not a question I can answer. This again? This is seriously pissing me off. Then don't say anything at all. Why do you guys bring up stuff no one even asked about and then always do this? That's, you're right. Sorry. I apologize. I don't need an apology, that's just words. If you're really sorry, just make sure you give me a good reward. I went through a hell of a lot of trouble doing this. The moment he apologized, like a rapid-fire machine gun, I fired off my demand as if I'd been waiting for it, and he went blank for a moment before nodding as if entranced. I understand. It is my fault, after all. Hoo. This is why guys who haven't had enough social experience are easy. So what exactly is the reward? You will find out when you return. A delivery transaction. For something like this, it'd be much cleaner and more reassuring to check the goods in person through a direct trade. Well, even if I pressed him further, it doesn't seem like he'll tell me in advance. So is that it then? Yes, that's it. Nothing more to tell me or give me. No, nothing. It seemed our conversation had drained his energy a bit, and he wanted to wrap things up here, but, as if I'd let it end like that. I'm a barbarian with more interest in the secrets of this world than anyone. So what happens to you now? Are you going to comfort yourself with the footage I made? Like Ormy Nork, who recreated his old girlfriend to role-play with. That is a rather graphic way of putting it. I absolutely hate beating around the bush. Anyway, so what happens? It's time to part ways. Bjorn, son of Yondel. Damn. Guess he's the avoidant type. Crackle. Along with his one-sided farewell, the space began to crack, as if its purpose had been fulfilled. I felt like my dimensional collapse PTSD was about to act up, but I held it in and looked at him. Setting everything else aside, there was one thing I wanted to say, even if it was a little awkward. You've worked hard, Tetra. A short sentence that wouldn't even fill a single line. A sentence meaninglessly spent thousands of times a day from people's mouths without sincerity. At that perfunctory sentence, he smiled. You should have been born a little earlier. Although it was a smile that looked terribly bittersweet, it was the first time I'd ever seen him smile. You have left a new possibility in the world's memory. You are a perfect savior. Total score, 100 points. You have permanently gained entry permission to the Twin Sea. The passage will be created at a random location in the Twin Sea. You have permanently gained entry permission to the passage. This is an achievement that was accomplished for the first time. The great feat you have accomplished here will be engraved in the Stone of Honor, recorded forevermore. Special condition, Honorable One has been fulfilled. From now on, you may enter the hall through the Stone of Honor. Chapter 929, New Normal. 3. After my conversation with the original Teshi ended, the second hand of the world, which had briefly stopped, began to move once again. I never got to see Teshi's human form. That's because the moment I came to my senses in the where I'd originally been, a portal opened. Shwa. A portal of massive size that looked as though it could swallow the world. A portal. Everyone, pull yourselves together. The members, who had been resting in their various spots, were greatly startled by the sudden phenomenon and rose to their feet. Well, not that there was anything they could really do. Vwoon. Just as it had been in my first round's ending, the portal swirled and sucked us in like a vacuum cleaner. And you are moved to the Great Sea on the 6th floor. When we came to, we were back outside. The ship we were on, the equipment we were wearing, even the positions where we were standing on the deck were exactly as they had been when we first entered. The sense of déjà vu, as if time had been turned back, made everything we'd experienced inside there feel like a long dream. But, oh, over here. PFF. What is this? Help me. The screams coming simultaneously from below proved that what had happened inside there was by no means a dream. Those people are them, right? The ones who died inside. So they really came back to life. There were quite a few who were secretly anxious about it, right up until the very end. Alright, don't just stand around watching. Let's help too. Under my command, our ship also quickly carried out rescue operations, and thanks to that, I was able to check the current situation one more time before the meeting was held. So you're saying you don't remember a single thing? Yes, I'm certain I had just entered that island a moment ago, but when I came to, I was in the middle of the sea. You have no idea how surprised I was. By any chance, did I die in there? You did, and the expedition was a success. When I nodded in response, the rescued beastman explorer pressed his lips together with an expression suppressing as much emotion as possible. Understandably, he must have felt disappointed and bitter. After all, he'd managed to be part of an expedition like this, only to lose his memories, lose his equipment, and end up being rescued from the sea like this. Whether or not you can obtain a Twin Sea entry ticket, even in a case like this, is something that can only be confirmed once the next cycle comes around. In any case, after the rescue operations were finished, the leaders gathered for a meeting. Looking at the content alone, it was closer to talk than a meeting. Like how surprising it was when the portal suddenly opened. Like whether that bloodthirsty monster was finally satisfied. Like that we're all rich now. Putting aside all that useless chatter and summarizing just a few things, the total number of rescued individuals has been confirmed to be 84. Rescued individuals. In other words, 84 people had died during the raid. Of course, no one was particularly surprised by this. We had done a headcount immediately after the Leviathan raid ended, and moreover, 84 people. I suppose it would be greedy to say that's a little disappointing. If you just told people the number, nobody would believe it. Indeed, to have taken down 2 estimated rank 1 entities and the sea god with only this level of sacrifice. On top of that, it was an undiscovered area. Not a single one of among the leaders considered 84 to be a large number. I also learned this while preparing for this expedition, but the average mortality rate of rank 1 raids exceeds 30%. Yet we had 3 and suffered losses that didn't even reach 20%. It's a figure that can simply be considered a great success. What's more, it's not as though they actually died, mind you. As for the equipment they lost, I promise unconditional restoration. Not just restoration, but compensation as well, especially for those who made contributions inside there. Even if they themselves don't remember, that doesn't mean it didn't happen. As Viscount Yondell said, all the supplies consumed inside there have returned as well. My word, this expedition has truly been a jackpot. The faces of the leaders were full of smiles, and to be honest, my own face in a mirror probably wouldn't be much different. Anyway, this is a table organizing all the spoils acquired during this expedition. Please take a copy, review it, and keep it with you until we return to the city for the final settlement. Preliminary settlement sheets were distributed to each representative. The items alone numbered in the thousands, and some items had designated recipients written next to them. Something like this: Orb of Water, Bjornya and Ilanabada. Once the price assessment is complete, the value of the Orb of Water will likely be deducted from the amount I am due to receive. Well, if the Orb of Water's value exceeds what I would receive as my share, I might even have to pay the difference. But that probably won't happen. After all, how much did we earn in there? There's no way an item with a non-tradable trait like the Orb of Water would be appraised at that high a price to begin with. And so, the spoils, evaluations of each member's contributions, our respective opinions on the artifacts obtained inside, etc., There are only 2 days left until the closure date now, so what shall we do with the remaining time? This was the final topic of the somewhat lengthy meeting, and naturally, our opinions came to a unanimous consensus. Let's rest. Then shall we moor our ships at Lemia Island? Let's just rest on the ships. Just thinking about that island is enough to make me sick of it. Earlier, I noticed there seemed to be some explorers waiting around, curious about our expedition, and I'd rather not draw their attention. And so, for the remaining 2 days, we rested peacefully aboard the anchored ships, and time flowed on and on. The labyrinth has closed. You are being moved to Raphonia. Alright, it's time to go home. After returning to the city, there was no time to rest. It wasn't anything unfamiliar at this point, and thinking about it, it had always been like this for some time now. You could say the city is busier than the labyrinth. When I think about how I rested well for 2 days on our ship at the end after the raid was over, that contrast feels even greater. That time was nice. Of course, even in the city, I could get enough rest if I just put my mind to it, but my personality doesn't make it easy. On the other hand, those last 2 days in the labyrinth were incredibly sweet because I could just empty my head and rest properly. Since there was absolutely nothing for me to do there, I think I kind of understand why people travel far away on their days off. Surprisingly, quite a lot exist in the world. People who can only truly rest when they're in an environment where they can't work. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. In the busily flowing time of the city, I had to go out every single day. Not for personal reasons like outings or dining out, but for official reasons. In the human world we live in, a raid doesn't just end with killing the boss. Even more so if it's a situation like now, where multiple groups are involved. There is an opinion that Aner Fenelon's contribution score in the elimination of the entity known as the chief researcher should be raised, so today we will conduct a recalculation and a vote. When it came to the contribution scores, it always took quite a long time until a unanimous agreement was reached. You're saying those artifacts are only worth that much? You didn't pull some kind of trick, did you? After all, most of the potential buyers are wizards affiliated with a magic tower. Good grief, the seller and the buyer are one and the same. Complaints were rampant over the spoils as well. Evil destroying arrows? Little flesh? You all got everything back, didn't you? Meanwhile, the contribution points our beastmen race spent summoning priests will never come back. During that process, voices being raised wasn't just a frequent occurrence, it happened every day. I suppose it can't be helped, given that it was an expedition that multiple groups took part in. In the first place, very few people were genuinely emotional. Each of them is in a position where they must represent the interests of their respective groups, so they were simply making political gestures with personal feelings set aside. This is exhausting. I'd rather do another raid, it'd be easier on my mind and less stressful, but I didn't miss a single session and participated in every step of the process. That's because with things like this, the moment you skip out, you're bound to take a loss one way or another. Oh, you're late again today. You worked hard, Naya. Have you eaten? I ate before I came back. Then how about I squeeze some apple juice and mix it with honey water for you? Thanks. When I finish a long schedule and come back, my whole body is completely drained. Even though it's not like I did anything physically strenuous. Right. When are you going to go see that place out, Naya? What place? What else would it be, Naya? I'm talking about the Stone of Honor. That? Surprisingly, my name was recorded on the Stone of Honor from this expedition as well. Actually, maybe it's not that surprising. To be honest, since it was a new area, I had a feeling it would probably happen as long as things went reasonably well. It felt rewarding only at first. Since it's already the how manyth time now, I just accept it as a matter of course. When I trailed off vaguely, Miss Shaw's eyes went wide. Don't tell me you're not planning going to go, Naya? It seems like newspaper reporters are counting down the days waiting for you to show up. That's why I'm not going. If I go now, not only will there be a lot of people, I've already heard the contents of what it says, so do I really need to go? I can't say that doesn't make sense, Naya. There will probably be more times my name gets recorded in the future and I can't go there every single time, can I? Don't ever say that outside, Naya. After that, I chatted with Miss Shaw a bit more, then washed up and laid down in bed. But maybe it was because of the conversation we just had? Even though I wanted to stop thinking about work, the topic of the Stone of Honor kept circling in my head. The great barbarian warrior, Bjorn Yondell, and his companions conquered Twin Island and left their footprints in the world's memory. Setting aside the fact that the name Twin Island was officially recorded on the stone, the world's memory, what's written is a bit peculiar, I have to say. Maybe I should go check it out later when I have the time? 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. Time in the city once again flowed by quickly. However, just as even a vast lake will eventually show its bottom if you keep scooping it out with a bucket, the amount of remaining post-raid work gradually decreased as well. Now, the daily gatherings to argue over contributions and spoils had mostly wrapped up, and we'd entered the phase of selling off the spoils that had no designated recipients. As a result, I had some time to spare, so I was able to do some research on transcendence as well. The stats haven't changed, and the passive is completely deleted. However, I still haven't figured out the exact condition for activating the 23-meter giant god mode. I can only speculate. A monster above a certain rank, a specific field, a monster's attributes or size. Could one of these be the condition? Since this part was something I'd need to verify in the labyrinth, I drew my conclusions here for now. This was because I had a mountain of things to do besides essence research. First, I of course completely ignored all of the enthusiastic invitations from the noble houses and started tackling the tasks that were important to me. The Ministry of Security that Iambil had taken charge of, the shaman, who can now at least open his eyes but is unable to move, let alone speak properly. New, Shield Barbarian's future build research. The plan to restart the community with the GM, checking information regarding the Nork integration matter. I also visited the Baroness Larivia house to speak with her clan's exclusive labyrinth historian, and while I was at it, stopped by the Explorers Guild to check on the progress of the investigation I'd ordered regarding the Black Wolf. The Melbeth gathering is around the end of the month, so I don't need to worry about that right now. Before I knew it, half of the month in the city had already passed. Well, I was so busy that I only even realized that thanks to him. You know, right? It's tonight at midnight. It's already that day. Then I'll see you then. Having received a heads up from the GM, I finished my schedule faster than usual, returned home, washed up, and laid down in bed before midnight. Your soul has resonated and is being drawn to a specific world. HUU, why is my heart pounding so hard over something like this? Episode 930 New Normal. 4. A pure white space reminiscent of the universe. At its center sat a single computer. Up to here, it's the same as before. Back then, I typed in the password using the keyboard, and at that moment, I was granted access and moved into my own unique mental space. That won't do. This newly opened community wasn't just for evil spirits, it was meant to be a grand space of unity where even the natives could participate. Evil spirits familiar with modern technology might be fine, but natives born and raised in Raphonia would inevitably find this system unfamiliar and difficult. That's why this had been prepared. Welcome to Raphonia Busters. As I approached the computer, the black EOS screen turned off and a video began to play. It was a tutorial video prepared directly by the GM. There's even a skip button. Of course, I didn't press it. Right now, I wasn't a regular user, I was an administrator. I needed to check if anything was wrong. The tools in front of you are essential for using Raphonia Busters. First, this item beside you is called a mouse. The masked GM in the tutorial explained how to use the mouse and keyboard, and the system was designed so that users had to successfully operate both before moving on to the next step. If you still find it difficult, don't worry. If you remain stuck in the tutorial for a certain amount of time, our staff will visit you in order and guide you. Right, so if someone was stuck for over an hour, help would come. Good thing I didn't interfere too much. Even left alone, they handled things well on their own. And there's no need to worry about your identity being revealed. Raphonia Busters prioritizes your anonymity above all else. Those of you who checked your hands may have already noticed. Right now, you simply appear as an ordinary wooden mannequin. Now then, we'll create a mirror for you. Would you like to check? When I looked at the mirror that appeared beside me, I saw a mannequin with ordinary human proportions. This was one of the parts I had strongly pushed for. The plain wooden mannequin you see in the mirror will serve as your avatar in Raphonia Busters. The avatar system, a feature created thanks to my insistence that anonymity was necessary for natives to use the community without resistance. Does it look too bland and lacking individuality? Don't worry, you'll be able to decorate it however you like using points you earn in the future. As I continued following the tutorial, the pure white space turned into a dull stone room, a cramped environment with just a disk and a computer in a space of about 4 pi. However, even this could later be expanded and decorated using GP. Okay, this guarantees my anonymity too. After finishing the tutorial, I checked the platform briefly, then entered the settings menu at the top right and input a coupon code. Administrator code has been granted to this account. All board levels are accessible. Unique IPs can be viewed. Old GP, 999,999,999,999,999. Hell, this is why being an operator is so satisfying. Of course, GP was a personal currency that couldn't be transferred to users. Expanding personal space. 1. Expanding personal space. 2. Expanding personal space. 3. As I entered the cash shop and began enlarging the cramped stone room, a knock soon came from the only door. It's me, Count. At this time, there was only one person who would visit my personal space, so I quickly went to open the door. But then, what the hell is that appearance? What is this now? A man stood at the door with looks so refined that anyone would instantly think he resembled a gigolo. Perhaps embarrassed by my gaze, he averted his eyes and spoke. Haha, it's better than being a wooden mannequin, isn't it? It seemed he had quickly customized his appearance while I was going through the tutorial. You should try it too, Count. Maybe later, when I have time. By the way, there's only one disc here. Could you add one more? You can find it in the furniture category in the shop. Following the GM's request, I placed another desk beside the first one. He then took out a laptop from his bag and set it up. What's that? A personal access device. With this, you can use the community even when visiting someone else's space. He had said he was short on time, yet he had added all sorts of features in that short span. Now then, would you like to sit next to me and take a look around together? There's a lot I need to explain. Alright. After that, I sat beside the GM and continued exploring the platform through his laptop. First, this number you see here, this shows the current number of users online. Only administrators can see it. 1,307 people. When we launched Raphonia Busters, we sent invitations to many individuals. Using the now subjugated guild leader of the Explorers Guild, we invited 411 veteran explorers. Through the GM's list, 672 evil spirits who had used the previous community, and even 490 suspects under investigation by the secret police. So except for 266, everyone accepted the invitation. Yes, it's a much better start than expected. Can you tell which ones are evil spirits among them? Well, so far, 647 users have skipped the tutorial, so at least 647 of them. Then, some might have completed it without skipping out of curiosity. Yes, that's true. But among those 647, there shouldn't be any natives. To skip, you have to pass several tests. Taking that into account, more than half of the current users were likely evil spirits. Continue prioritizing the recruitment of evil spirits. I've said it multiple times, you know it's the most important thing. We must never let one side outnumber the other. Of course, if we abandon that balance, expanding the community would be much easier. Unlike the hidden players scattered around, native explorers could be invited freely. Lower the explorer rank requirement a bit, and reaching 10,000 concurrent users wouldn't be difficult. But that's not what I want. If that happened, things would become the same as before. If natives became the majority, an atmosphere of excluding evil spirits would form, and then they would have to hide themselves here as well. So what other features are there? Would you take a look at this? After that, the GM began explaining various features of Raphonia Busters to me, like a personal tutor. While most of the system, starting from the UI, was based on the previous community, it wasn't just a simple copy and paste. There were several special updates. One of the most notable was, nicknames, well, aliases, are no longer used on the free board. Nicknames were no longer used, at least, not on the free board. When you write a post, it now simply shows anonymous. However, when the original poster replies, a badge appears to distinguish them. And why did you do it this way? Because that's the only way the board will become more active. Of course, it was also possible to reject anonymity, though it would cost a bit of real money. You can purchase a nickname using GP, and to maintain that nickname, you'll need to spend GP once every 6 months. Oh, and for reference, without it, you can't use the marketplace either. For some reason, it felt like the platform had become quite commercial, but the GM didn't seem to care. Even just logging in regularly and staying active will earn you enough GP to buy a nickname, so there won't be a single user who can't afford one. The first purchase is free as well. Then doesn't that make the anonymity system meaningless? Not at all. Even if people have nicknames, they'll still post anonymously. That's just how people are. At the GM's confidence statement, I found myself nodding without thinking. Honestly, it did seem like things would turn out exactly as he said. Of course, some users will want a more refined space rather than just a place for casual posts. So later on, I'm thinking of creating boards that only users with nicknames can access. The GM went on enthusiastically for quite a while about future updates. 27. Looks like quite a few posts have piled up now. Shall we take a look together? We began browsing in earnest. The free board had already passed 5 pages, and the very first post was this. 1. SG. A meaningless shitpost with no content. Honestly, I had expected as much, so it didn't surprise me. Ahem. Suddenly, the GM cleared his throat. That was you, wasn't it? Well, I couldn't really blame him for not being able to resist, so I let it slide. Scroll. As I rolled the mouse wheel down, I saw dozens of comments already posted. Anonymous 1. First reply. Anonymous 1. Wow, so this is really reopening. I wasn't sure when I got the pill. Anonymous 2. Damn, I skipped right away and still ended up late. Anonymous 3. Leaving my mark early. Anonymous 4. It's back, my joy in life. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Anonymous 4. But why are all the nicknames anonymous? Weird patch. All comments were labeled as anonymous, with numbers assigned in order so they could still be distinguished within the post. One of the key differences from before. Birdus Maximus. By the way, were all the old posts deleted? Kind of a shame. There was a lot of useful stuff. Anonymous 4, what? Why do you have a name? Birdus Maximus, equals. Anonymous 4, no seriously, why do you have one? AI Didigo, info, you can buy a nickname ticket in the shop. N East Level, thanks. Anonymous 7, wow, nice to see you again here, Didigo. Reading through the comments, I already felt strangely at ease, like returning home. Some familiar nicknames were already appearing. I went back and quickly skimmed other posts. Too many to read everything, so I focused on the noticeable ones. But seriously, what's with a tutorial video? Why is that even necessary? Even kids in Africa can use computers. This was also one of the expected reactions. Anonymous 1, think about it. Maybe there are people who aren't even from Africa. Anonymous, OP, what are you even talking about? Anonymous 1, there were rumors that when it reopened, it'd be open not just to players but also to natives. Anonymous 4, not a rumor, it's real. I'm in a legit party that openly admits being evil spirits, and even my girlfriend got an invite. Anonymous 7, then is that why it's Raphonia busters instead of ghost? Anonymous 10, what legit party? Get a grip. It's not too late, just kill them all and shut them up. A question sparked by the tutorial video became a post, and as more people gathered, it turned into shared information. Night has fallen. Natives, raise your hands. Not me. Anonymous 1, not me either. Anonymous 2, foot. Anonymous 3, where are they even? Was it just a rumor? Anonymous 8, it'll probably take them time to get in. They have to finish the tutorial first. At that point, I had a question and asked the GM, didn't you say someone would go help those who can't clear the tutorial? Don't worry. Experienced guides are helping them. Guides? Yes, there's someone who has been assisting us for a long time. He must be referring to Soul Queens. I'd like to meet them sometime, preferably outside, not here. I'll ask for their consent and arrange something. Alright, that concluded the conversation, and I continued flipping through pages and reading posts. I could get a sense of the overall atmosphere, but there wasn't anything particularly practical yet. Everyone seemed to be enjoying themselves, posting nonsense on the anonymous board. Yet, it's finally here. As I reached the latest page, the post I had been waiting for finally appeared. How do I log out of here? Please help. The first native had finally left their mark on the community. Episode 931, New Normal. 5. Japan, China, Spain, the United States, and more. How could you create a space where players of many different nationalities could all communicate smoothly? The answer, in truth, wasn't that difficult. Nationality, language, gender, age. Among players who differed in all these ways, there was one single, unchanging commonality. Raphonian language. The moment every player enters this world, a language pack for this world is downloaded into their brain. As far as I know, it's the only player-exclusive perk. Well, honestly, it's not like a status window or anything. Makes you want to say, this is a perk. But still, even so, this is probably why we've managed to survive this long. Without even that language pack, the average survival rate of players would probably be close to 0%. This place isn't friendly to players. The people of Raphonia call players evil spirits, reject them, hunt them, and kill them. Anyway, back to the point. Posts on Ghostbusters are based on the Raphonian language. However, nicknames are strictly limited to English characters, and someone once wrote a post about that. Because of communication issues, they had no choice but to use Raphonian, but to preserve the players' identities, they supposedly adopted that system. That was the argument of the post, and most of the players who commented agreed and were even moved by it. TXT. I don't think it was really about identity, though. That's what I think now. Wasn't the real reason the GM fixed nicknames in English just to find Ilfnuna? After all, he was obsessed enough to name himself Ilfnuna Love. Oh, as expected, the comments are coming in quickly. I glanced at the GM, then quickly turned my gaze back to the monitor. Just as he said, the number of comments was increasing rapidly, which, in a way, was only natural. How do I live from here? Please help. Anyone could tell this was a post written by a clueless newbie who wasn't used to using a keyboard, an obvious native of this world. Anonymous 1, alright, first introduce yourself. What's your name, friend? Otherwise I don't think I'll help you. The first comment was clearly malicious, asking for personal info, but fortunately someone stepped in at the right moment. Anonymous 2, it's bait. Don't tell them your name. Anonymous 1, who are you to butt in? You a native too. Anonymous 2, do I look like one? I just don't like what you're doing. What? You gonna track them down and kill them if you get their name? Anonymous 1, kill them? No way. I was just joking. You're taking this way too seriously. Perhaps feeling pressured, Anonymous 1 disappeared from the comment section, and Anonymous 2 left another comment. Anonymous 2, OP, please read this. Any questions about personal info are bait, so never answer them. Also, spend at least 3 hours just reading posts to get a feel for things. The notices are well written too, so check those. It was a fairly long comment, and you could sense the commenter's good nature. And perhaps that sincerity got through, because the original poster replied, "Anonymous, OP, what is bait?" That innocent question left me momentarily stunned. For a second, it felt like the world had stopped, though really, it was just that I hadn't refreshed the page. Click. When I hit F5, new comments flooded in below. Anonymous 9, wow, this is real. Anonymous 14, yeah, this is actually real. Anonymous 21, I thought it was someone pretending to be a native. Why is this legit? Earlier, there had been quite a few comments doubting the op's identity, but now it seemed those doubts were completely gone. Among them was Anonymous 2. Anonymous 2, bait means tricking someone, but never mind. Just don't answer. There's nothing to gain from revealing who you are here. Anonymous 2 gave up on explaining the term in detail. Anonymous, OP, okay, I will do that. Once again, the OP only responded to that comment. Well, it probably felt instinctive, who they could rely on here. Anonymous, OP, but how do I leave this place? Anonymous 7, lol, alright, that was the original question. Anonymous 21, is it just me, or are there fewer typos than in the original post? Anonymous 14, keep going, you've got talent. Anonymous 2, click the gear icon at the top right, click logout, then you'll wake up where you fell asleep. As always, Anonymous 2 appeared and gave a kind answer, but strangely, this time, the OP didn't reply. Click, 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 even after refreshing several times, the OP had completely disappeared from the post. Around then, other users who had been watching began to express their confusion. Anonymous 34, the op's nickname turned gray. What's that? Is it just me? Anonymous 8, oh, yeah, same here. What is that? AI info 1, a gray nickname means the account is inactive. Anonymous 34, oh, I see. They're really logged out. Anonymous 7, LOL, I thought they were ungrateful, but they just couldn't say thanks because they logged out. Anonymous 1, if they logged out, they really were a native. Too bad. Anonymous 34, but Didigo, how did you know that? AI info 2. This information is clearly written in the notices. With Didigo's appearance, all questions were resolved, and users quickly lost interest in the post after the OP left. So, click, I went back to monitoring the newly posts to gauge the overall atmosphere. At this point, it seemed confirmed that natives entering the community was a fact, and debates had begun. Why are natives being let in here? Wasn't this a space just for players? What is the GM even thinking? Did they side with the royal family or something? Doesn't this put us in danger too? Some people showed anxiety and discomfort at the drastic change. Don't give any info to those native bastards. Name, rank, if we get just those two, we can go kill them tomorrow. If we kill them all, things will go back to how they were. They're totally defenseless against this kind of thing. If we work together, digging up their identities would be easy. As those opinions became dominant, negative emotions began turning into outright aggression. That's when the cleanup began. Wow, a lot of Hitler candidates here. If you do that, how are you any different from evil spirits? The GM must have a plan. They've been here since the beginning. I don't believe they'd ever do something harmful to us. Go ahead and bait all you want. I'll block every single one, lol. I probably have more time than Bjorn. I actually like it. More people means more information. Honestly, there were too few people before. Repulsed by the extremists' remarks, other players pushed back more aggressively, defending the natives, hardliners and moderates. A split among players wasn't what we wanted, but the GM and I chose to remain completely hands-off. Sure, if we posted a notice like all questions about personal information will be banned, the moderates would overwhelmingly win. But for the future, we need to minimize intervention. That kind of approach would only suppress things temporarily. Their dissatisfaction would keep growing unresolved, and eventually, it would turn against us. An exposed abscess isn't dangerous. What's truly dangerous is the one hidden inside, invisible to the eye. If it festers long enough, it becomes something beyond control. And so, the battle between spear and shield began. Must read. If you just joined, read this first. Name, age, gender, explorer rank. Leave just these in the comments, and we'll send you to the essence house you want. Whenever the hardliners posted bait, the moderates quickly responded with warnings, filling the board with sincere advice and counterposts. Please, I'm begging you. For now, don't write anything for at least 3 hours. Just observe. As you live, you'll inevitably run into bad people like murderers or robbers, right? We, whom you call evil spirits, are no different. Today, the bad ones are especially active, so for the time being, just watch and get a feel for the atmosphere. We welcome you. But wait a second. If you combine murderers and robbers, isn't that just a regular looter? Anyway, after monitoring for about 2 hours, the number of bait posts from the hardliners gradually decreased. It looks like the moderates are gaining the upper hand as time goes on. That's a relief. Honestly, it was only natural. They call it a battle between spear and shield, but in the end, it's a fight the shield wins. Think about it. Go left. No, go right. If two strangers say that at the same time, who would you believe? The answer is neither. And the moment doubt arises, people tend to hold off on making a decision and try to observe more carefully. That's when the moderates win, because just by watching, it becomes clear which side to trust. Still, it was fortunate that there were a decent number of moderates. If they had been overwhelmingly outnumbered, there could have been quite a few victims. The reason the number of posts is decreasing is probably because no matter how much they post, it doesn't work, so they've gotten tired of it. But we can't let our guard down. These are the kinds of guys who'll cause trouble the moment they get the chance. Yes, that's true. They need to get used to this place quickly. They will soon enough. Once they adapt to this device called a keyboard, there's nothing particularly difficult about it. Is that so? Oh, I just got a message. It says all the natives have finished the tutorial now. From this point on, we'll start seeing more of their posts. So, I understand. You can go. Haha. Yes, I have things to do, and I should also thank her for her hard work. With that, the GM, who had been observing the early atmosphere with me, opened the door and left. Apparently, a user invited into someone else's space can return to their original space just by opening the door and leaving. Phew. I quietly steadied my breathing and slowly reached for the mouse. That was uncomfortable. Yet, computers are best used alone. After the GM left, I began properly operating the computer and continued exploring the community. Watching the chaos unfolding on the freeboard was entertaining in its own way, but what I focused on was the admin functions. There's quite a lot of interesting stuff here. Were these features originally part of Ghostbusters, or were they newly added? I couldn't tell for sure, but admins had quite a lot of power, from blocking posts and comments to issuing permanent bans. I can see it. No matter how much players hide behind anonymity and try to disguise themselves, we can still identify them. All it takes is a mouse click to reveal their unique code. Like this, Anonymous, P194. To test the feature, I clicked on a random user and checked their entire activity history. It was quite a sight. Anonymous 7, I really don't understand. Just because we were rejected in the past doesn't justify rejecting others. Please, everyone, come to your senses. When moderates made posts, they'd leave comments pretending to be moderates. Anonymous 1, anyone defending those native bastards should be handed over to the secret police. Let's see if they still defend them when they're hanging from the gallows. When hardliners posted, they'd insult the moderates. And that wasn't all. I have a younger sister, pretty, but she likes me too much, and it's a problem. Live as Bjorn Yondel vs. Return Home. I see this situation a bit differently. GM posted an announcement. Check it quickly. Whenever posts slowed down even a little, this troll would spam nonsense on every possible topic, as if they couldn't stand the silence. At this point, isn't that basically a disorder? As an admin, it felt like I should take action, but I decided not to, because these kinds of functions must remain strictly secret. If the users found out, it would cause chaos. So instead, I simply gave this ability a name. Mind's Eye, the ability to see the essence of things without being deceived by appearances. Of course, the great power of an admin doesn't end with just Mind's Eye. As I examined the various new abilities I had acquired, one in particular caught my attention. 12/1. It didn't take long to decide. Tap tap tap, click. I don't like abusing power, but sometimes sacrifices are necessary for the greater good. Banned word settings have been applied. It was something that had to be done. Must read. If you just joined, please read this. Name, age, gender, explorer rank. Leave just these in the comments, and we'll send you to the essence house you want. Anonymous 1, my name won't write 27 years old. Rank 5, male. Anonymous, OP. What do you mean your name won't write? Anonymous 1, when I try to write it, it says it's an inappropriate word. Anonymous, OP. What? Inappropriate word? I've never seen that happen before. Anonymous, OP. You effing idiot bastard piece of trash. Anonymous, OP. That works, but your name gets flagged? Are you trolling? Anonymous 1, don't swear, you bah. Anonymous, OP. Judging by your reaction, this is real? Then does that really mean your name can't be written? Anonymous 1, yes, I can't write it. I want longevity, 27 years old, rank 5, male. Anonymous 2, no, but you still need to tell us your name. Anonymous 1, it says it's inappropriate, so I can't write it. Johnson 69cm, LOL, what kind of name is so inappropriate it gets banned? Anonymous 1, no, my name is just normal. Episode 932, New Normal. 6. The first gathering was, all things considered, a success. At the very least, the moderates managed to overcome the hardliners, so the community didn't get swallowed by hostility toward the natives. Am I writing this right? Hello, evil spirits, please take care of me. About 6 hours after opening, the natives gradually began posting more frequently. They seemed to be getting used to using keyboards, and the number of typos in each post had noticeably decreased. They were slowly adapting now. Once they fully adapt, it'll become hard to tell them apart. After all, this is a place hidden behind anonymity. That was exactly what I wanted. a place where no one could tell who was who. In other words, a place where there was no real difference between them. When that time came, even the natives would come to see that evil spirits weren't monsters, but just ordinary people. Communication is the first step to understanding each other. Just like this. Anonymous 1, hey, not evil spirits, players. Be careful from now on. Anonymous, OP, sorry, player. Anonymous 2, this one's got some sense. You don't have to be formal though. No one really cares. Anonymous, OP, got it. Nice to meet you. Anonymous 2, feels kinda nice. Got any questions? Anonymous, OP, what did you used to do? Anonymous 2, wow, straight to the point. Anonymous, OP, sorry if that was rude. Anonymous 2, nah, it's fine. Nothing I can't say. I used to work at a flower shop. All over the board, conversations like this were happening actively. If this trend continued, at the very least, they would stop seeing evil spirits as purely evil, and in some cases, might even start seeing them as friends. If this spark can spread further and further, yet, who knows, maybe someday, there'll be a world where we can proudly call ourselves evil spirits. Click, click. Once I felt the atmosphere on the board had fully stabilized, I started enjoying the community in my own way. After all, at my core, I'm a player too. No one missed this place more than I did. If anyone knows the latest news from Japan, please leave a comment. Do you even realize there's a war going on Earth while you're posting? Does anyone know who the current US president is? As the initial shock of the natives joining faded, players began communicating more actively among themselves. They asked about the latest news on Earth, joked around with humor only modern people would understand, laughed together, and explained things to natives who didn't get the jokes. What happened with the Nork group integration? Every month they say this time for sure, but still no news. Anonymous 1, it's confirmed, but who knows when it'll actually happen. Anonymous 2, prediction, it'll happen during the next expedition. Sometimes, topics about Raphonia's political situation would take over the entire board instead of modern-day discussions. Hey guys, did you know this? Apparently, Dungeon & Stone is gaining a cult following on Earth. People go missing while playing it. Sounds like some kind of urban legend. I heard the difficulty multiplier can go up to 300 times. Right now, the board was centered around this topic. At first, many doubted whether it was true, but players who already knew about it started confirming it one by one, solidifying it as fact. Anonymous 1, 300 times? LOL. If that's true, those guys are seriously screwed. Anonymous 3, why didn't I level up after killing a goblin? What? You can only absorb up to 300 essences. Anonymous 13, even players who entered at 100 times didn't understand why they needed companions. At 300 times, they probably played like it was a single-player game. Anonymous 20, floor boss? Isn't that something you just solo? Anonymous 7, and they even have to enter dungeons with those Nork guys, and the economy's wrecked because of the war. Anonymous 11, why feel bad? They knew it was a game where people go missing, right? Isn't this what they wanted? LOL. Anonymous 21, hey, people's lives are on the line. You really want to mock them? Of course. This topic didn't last very long either. It kept getting mentioned until the community closed, but it never regained that explosive level of attention. Free board. True to its name, users kept switching topics and enjoying themselves freely, and the natives gradually began to blend in with them. I mean, when would they have ever experienced this kind of fun? Even modern people, addicted to all kinds of dopamine, struggle to escape internet addiction. And right now, most content was still locked out of consideration for the natives, so there was even more to look forward to. At this point, the test run is a huge success. Of course, we stayed until the very end, enjoying the full 12 hours before the server shut down. For some reason, I suddenly craved a bowl of goop pop today. Your character is moving to Raphonia. The day after the successful launch of Raphonia Busters, nothing much had changed. There were no big headlines in the newspapers, and people weren't talking about it everywhere. Well, the natives couldn't exactly be open about it either. After all, they were interacting with evil spirits, so they'd have to watch what they said for a while. But that won't last long. Eventually, word about Raphonia Busters would quietly spread beneath the surface. My job was to make sure that as it spread, it carried as little negativity as possible. I went there. It was really fascinating. Such a fun experience. They're called evil spirits, but they're nothing special. I was able to access information that's usually hard to get. It really helped. If testimonies like these piled up, then explorers who later received invitations would be far more likely to join the community without hesitation. In fact, among explorers, being a user might even become something to aspire to. The problem is recruiting players. With that in mind, my first destination today was the gathering place of evil spirit hunters, the Secret Security Bureau. You came. Yeah, so how was it? The start was pretty good. If we handle the branding well, it could grow into a group as big as the Adventurers Guild, assuming the royal family doesn't interfere. As big as a guild. Not just big, a group that's friendly toward evil spirits. Of course, that'll require carefully guiding public opinion in the community, like we did this time. Wait, what do you mean like this time? When I asked, Hyunbil tilted her head, as if confused. What, you really didn't know? We got a few extra invitations from the GM and had some of our agents join too. Apparently, they even made keyboard mock-ups and practiced in advance before entering. So you were part of the moderates. Come on, we didn't have that many people. We were just the ones shouting the loudest at the front. Why didn't I know about this? I put it all in the report, you just didn't read it. Well, that figures. Did you think I handed this over to you because I expected you to take care of things like this? Realizing I couldn't win the argument, I didn't bother responding. It wasn't something worth getting worked up over in the first place. Yet, you did well. Anyway, good timing. This is a critical turning point for our security bureau. It's already our security bureau now. Yep, I actually like it here. Everyone listens well. It's fun to build something up. Seeing Hyunbil grin like that, I chose not to comment further. Enough of that. Explain. What do you mean by a critical turning point? It's about deciding what kind of organization the Secret Security Bureau will become. We need to define its identity. Like I said before, I know, you want to use evil spirit hunters to secure evil spirits, and then bring those evil spirits into the community, right? Exactly. But then what about our performance? We wouldn't catch a single one, we'd just investigate and release them all. Do you think the administration would keep funding us properly? No. The budget would keep getting cut until we couldn't even maintain a handful of agents. Performance metrics and budget. Something I hadn't considered at all. But didn't you say before that you'd pay salaries out of your own pocket if needed? That was just for the early stage if funds ran short. I never meant we'd sustain things that way forever. If we want to grow, we can't rely on personal funds. Everything she said made perfect sense. At this rate, the Secret Security Bureau would become even more useless within Raphonia. But I wasn't too worried. After all, why would she bring this up now unless you've got a solution, don't you? I do have something in mind. Let's hear it. Contrary to popular belief, the Secret Security Bureau's role isn't limited to hunting evil spirits. It's much broader. The Public Security Office maintains order in the city, controlling and protecting ordinary citizens. Moslin handles disputes among nobles, like a VIP problem solver beyond the reach of regular officials. The Rose Knights deal with assassinations, espionage, and special missions. The Royal Intelligence Department handles information and acts as a bridge between groups. Then what about the Secret Security Bureau? In one word, exposure. Exposure. In other words, uncovering hidden people, objects, or truths. From anti-royalist agitators to disruptive ideologues and heretics, our job is to find the wolves hiding among civilians and eliminate them in advance, and, if we're not going to catch evil spirits, shouldn't we at least be good at catching someone else? In short, we'd have to make up for performance through other means. But wouldn't that be even harder than catching evil spirits? The people you listed sound tougher to deal with. Yes, exactly. We won't be able to meet performance targets that way. She paused briefly, then continued. So, we create them, what? For a moment, I doubted what I'd just heard. Don't tell me you're planning to frame people just to boost performance. It was a shocking idea, enough to make my head ring, but Hyunbil remained completely composed. Yes, whether it's evil spirits, rebels, or heretics, we'll label them, arrest them, and execute them. You think I'd allow that? Only for the Nork bastards, This time, my head spun for an entirely different reason. Did you know? Just like guilds, the Secret Security Bureau also has the authority to capture and execute looters, and the citizens will love it. They'll believe we're protecting them from the Nork group. Murder, arson, looting. We'll assign severe charges and carry out executions. That way, as you wanted, we'll also plant a negative perception of Nork among the public. And then, why aren't you saying anything? I simply couldn't find the words. Well, putting Hyunbil in charge had been the best decision I could have made. Catching Nork members instead of evil spirits to fill performance quotas. It was undeniably a brilliant idea, but executing it in reality would require countless details. Still, if I had to pick the two most important points, politically, I need your support. You need to expand your influence and become a strong backing for the Bureau. From now on, I had to become an umbrella, one big enough to shield her completely from any storm outside. And we'll also need force. They won't submit to arrest quietly. We need someone strong-willed enough to capture targets from Nork territory without hesitation, someone who won't compromise. Fortunately, unlike the first requirement, the second was easy to fulfill immediately, because there were plenty of perfect candidates, not just one or two. State your name. Special Agent of the Secret Security Bureau, Ivar, son of Hyunbil, and your mission, to capture whoever I am ordered to capture, and if the suspect resists arrest or tries to flee, behead them all. Hehe. A satisfied smile spread across Hyunbil's face as she finished the agent interviews.